Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz, and today I want to talk about a couple new 4K releases that I just picked up from Lionsgate Limited. Super cool collectible editions, and I'm talking about the new Den of Thieves Collection box set. This is a dual steelbook chunky box. Very cool. And then I also picked up the Conversation. Francis Ford Coppola, Gene Hackman. This is also a steelbook box set. This is the 50th anniversary collector's edition. Super chunky, as you can see, and you guys know I'm a big fan of the chunk, right? Well, this one's huge. So I will be offering my thoughts on these. I'll show you guys everything that's inside of these, and let you know what I thought of the 4K transfers as well. Now, these were my first purchases from Lionsgate Limited, and of course, I'll be sharing my thoughts about them and that experience as well. So let's rock. Now, I noticed that Lionsgate Limited is a fairly new business entity, just like within the last 6 months or so. They just popped onto the scene like late November of last year, after Best Buy got out of the physical media game. Prior to the beginning of last year, when Best Buy was still carrying and selling physical media, Lionsgate used to sell a lot of their collectible editions exclusively through Best Buy. It might have been all of their collectible editions, but this was especially true of the Steelbooks. And, they had the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook. And if you wanted that particular Steelbook, you could only get it through Best Buy. You might be able to get like a slipcovered edition of the movie through Amazon or anywhere else, but the Steelbooks, the collectible editions, were exclusive to Best Buy. And Lionsgate has a history of releasing some just absolutely killer steelbooks. In fact, I think their steelbooks are some of the best steelbooks on the market. And here's an example. This was a Best Buy exclusive that I bought at one point. Total Recall. Awesome Total Recall steelbook. One thing that's cool about Lionsgate steelbooks is that they often provide this cool plastic slipcover that's like a clear color printed plastic slipcover, which I will show you. There's Total Recall, and they print all the stuff on the back there, and then you get your cool steelbook design as well. And then you put it together and it forms the complete image, right? And what's cool about these clear plastic slipcovers is not only do you get cool art and get some really creative and innovative stuff that, Lionsgate does with their designs, but you also get something that actually protects the steelbook, which I really appreciate because steelbooks, of course, can get dinged up and scratched very easily. They're a little bit more delicate. So I appreciate having a plastic slipcover over it, as part of the deal, right? Lionsgate also did the same thing with Reservoir Dogs. And when I first saw the design of this steelbook, first of all, I was kind of cracking up because I thought it was funny. But I just thought it was the coolest thing, and I just had to have it, So again, we got the clear plastic slipcover that's printed, but if you notice the ear here, it just slides right off, right? Look at that. How cool is that? And then, of course, you got the printing on that. You got the printing on the other side. So I show you these just to kind of give you an idea of how cool the Lionsgate steelbooks are for those of you who may be new to collecting and you're just getting into it. You're just learning about this stuff. Yeah, Lionsgate makes some of the best steelbooks on the market. I love their collectible editions. So anyway, Best Buy, they stopped carrying physical media at the beginning of last year, and I think in the aftermath, Lionsgate found that they had to develop some kind of direct-to-consumer model for tapping into the premium collectible editions market and really driving collectors to their products who value that kind of collectible packaging. So in, I think it was late November of last year, Lionsgate launched Lionsgate Limited to do just that, provide that direct-to-consumer experience. And I personally tend to think of Lionsgate Limited as almost like the boutique side of Lionsgate, right? Like the boutique wing of the larger company. It's their attempt to kind of serve the higher-end collectible editions market and really cater to the collectors. And some of their editions definitely have some, I think it's fair to say, higher end price tags as well, such as The Conversation, but not all of them. It really just depends on what you're getting. Some of their collectible editions are fairly reasonably priced. Other ones, they're a little bit pricier, but so it just depends on what we're talking about. Now, it appears that all of the collectible editions that Lionsgate Limited carries on their website are exclusive to that website, which means the only way you can get those titles, or at least those editions of those titles, are directly through the lionsgatelimited.com site. And I will say I had a great experience with Lionsgate Limited. They packaged my orders really well, and I ordered both of these things separately. They were two separate orders at different times, and each title that I purchased, each of these came in a box with like plenty of bubble wrap, like packed all around it and kind of wedged in there and wrapped in bubble wrap to make sure it wasn't like sliding around or get dinged up in the box or anything like that. So the people at Lionsgate really do seem to understand the collector's mindset, and they took great care to make sure their higher end releases got to me safely and free of damage. So for those of you who may be like on the fence about ordering from Lionsgate Limited because you've never ordered from them before, I can tell you I just had a great experience with them, and I would definitely order from them again. All right, so let me get into these releases here. Let's start with the Den of Thieves Collection on 4K. You get both movies on 4K. It's worth noting that for the first Den of Thieves film, the only way you can get this movie on 4K right now, as of this recording, is this box set. There is no standalone release for Den of Thieves 1 on 4K yet. I assume there will be at some point a standalone 4K for Den of Thieves, the first Den of Thieves film. But as of right now, if you want it on 4K, the only way you can get it is by getting this dual steelbook box set here. Now let's take a look inside here and see what we have here. Let me show this off a little bit more, get a little closer so you can see the art. I like the art. I like the vault imagery. It's pretty minimal and pretty basic. You got that on the back there. And it's a fairly thick box. It's thick enough to hold two steelbooks. So now one thing I like about this is it's got this magnetic flap, kind of like the Vinegar Syndrome VSU boxes. If you lift it up here, I can get my fingers around it. Yeah, so it's got kind of a magnetic flap there that lifts up and kind of so it opens up like that. You got that on the inside. And the steelbooks are just sitting one right on top of another inside there. And I'll take them out here so you can see them. There is a little notch here so that you can kind of pull the steelbook out. Let me set this down here so I can show you this one. Very cool. There's the first film. And get some art on the back there. I think it's pretty cool looking. It's pretty minimalist, but I like the way it looks. I like the one color look. I think that's cool. And then for the second one here, let me get it out of the case here. It's a little harder to get the second one out. The notch doesn't go down far enough to get your thumb in there, but there's the second one. Same artist, same kind of general design, just a different color. So I think of these as matching steelbooks. I think they're really cool looking, right? I love these steelbooks, and I'm not necessarily even the biggest steelbook guy. I buy them on occasion, but I buy them when they're interesting to me. And for something like this, the dual steelbook box set, I just had to get it. So here's the inside of the box, by the way. That's what it looks like. There is no book or poster or, stickers or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple stuff in this edition. It's just the cool box and the two steelbooks. However, you do get digital codes for those of you who are interested in that. You get both the movies on 4K and digital codes. And actually there's Blu-ray. There's 4K and Blu-ray for each movie included here, and then digital codes as well. So this is just, I think this is a very cool edition. I love steelbook box sets, and I don't mind that there wasn't any like literature or posters or anything like that. The main reason I like these collectible editions for any movie is the nice box set. You know, that's my favorite part of this type of packaging, is the rigid box itself. So, but yeah, so very cool packaging on this. And this is, like I said, a Lionsgate Limited exclusive. The only way you can buy this is directly through their website. And I will put a link in the description below to this exact edition for those of you who want to purchase it. Oh, something worth mentioning about the price of this. I was surprised at how reasonably priced this was. It's only $60. So for 2 steelbooks, 2 movies on 4K for, you know, like $59.99, that's a pretty good deal. I mean, a lot of times people will pay $35, $40 per steelbook individually as like a standalone release, or sometimes more than that if they go out of print and you have to get them on the secondary market. You know, steelbooks, you know, once you go into scalper pricing territory, then it gets pretty hairy, right? But yeah, $30 per steelbook is essentially what this works out to be for a $60 box set. Plus, you get the cool box to house the steelbooks in. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable deal. So I was very surprised when I saw that. And as soon as I saw the pre-order come up for this, I immediately jumped on it because I'm a big fan of the first film. I hadn't seen the second film prior to picking this up. I have watched it now, but yeah, I just had to get this. Although I do have one minor criticism of this release, and it's how they put the steelbooks. They have just one steelbook sitting right on top of another like that, and I would have preferred that they had like a piece of foam, like a thin piece of foam here dividing the steelbooks. That would be my only improvement that I would make to this box set, aside from, you know, including a book or something like that. But I don't need the book. I don't need a poster. I was happy with the steelbooks, but I do wish there had been some sort of like protective divider there rather than just having them sit one right on top of another. However, it's going to be on my shelf like that most of the time, right? So they're not going anywhere. They're not going to be rattling around in there. So it's not that big of a deal. All right, so now let me touch on the 4K transfers themselves. I thought both of these movies looked great in 4K. One definitely looks a little bit better than the other, but they're both very solid 4K releases. The first film, that one is a 2K upscale, or it's sourced from a 2K digital intermediate. Essentially, the first film was shot in like 3.4K. So it wasn't even shot in quite full 4K. It was shot at like 3.4 4K, and then they finished it at 2K. So they created a 2K digital intermediate, and that's what the 4K is sourced from. However, it still looks great. There is a noticeable improvement over the Blu-ray. I've watched the Blu-ray quite a few times. I mean, my old Blu-ray, I've watched it quite a few times. And there was a noticeable improvement from the Blu-ray to this 4K. The detail looks great. Detail looks nice and crisp. You definitely notice an uptick in detail, and as well as more depth and richness to the image and pop to the image in general, just as a result of the HDR and the wider color gamut. So even though it's not a true native 4K for the first film, I still think it looks fantastic on 4K, and certainly the best the film has ever looked. Now, the sequel, Den of Thieves 2 Pantera, is a little bit of a different story on 4K. It looks absolutely stunning in 4K, and I think part of the reason for that is the fact that the movie was shot in 8K, at least according to the IMDb technical specs. I looked it up, and the movie was actually appears to have been shot in 8K and then finished on 4K, the 4K digital intermediate, and that's what we get here. And this is some truly stunning stuff in the second film, and I enjoyed the second film too. This was the first time I'd watched it. I didn't see it in the theater. I really enjoyed the second film, maybe not quite as much as the first film, but I'd say it's close to the first film. It's on par with the first film. It does take a little bit of time to get going. A lot of people have criticized the film for that, taking too long to get going. And it does take a good hour or so before all the real action kind of kicks into gear. But I really enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with it. There may be a few scenes that could have been cut down a little bit shorter, but for the most part, I thought it was fine. I thought it looked fantastic, and I thought it was a really enjoyable movie, and I just love these films, right? Yeah, it was cool to finally see the sequel to this movie after, what was it, like 7 years or something like that, since the last one. And I enjoyed them both, but you can't go wrong with these on 4K. They really do look awesome. The second film looks a little better on 4K than the first film, but the first film doesn't look bad on 4K. It still looks really good. It's just, again, it's sourced from a 2K upscale, so it's not going to be quite as impressive as the second film. But the second film truly is impressive on 4K. In fact, I'd say the second movie is probably a demo-worthy 4K. It looks that good on 4K. So yeah, I was not disappointed with this set at all. It's a great set all the way around. As for special features, it looks pretty minimal. From what I could tell, it looks like there's just a couple featurettes, nothing too major. But I haven't had a chance to like really look at the special features or browse the disc at all. I didn't really care. I mainly just wanted to watch the films in 4K, and I wasn't really all that interested in whatever special features there were. It didn't seem like there was a feature-length making of documentaries. So if there's not a lengthy making of documentary, then, and if it's just a 7-minute featurette or something, then I'm less inclined to spend much effort in checking those out. All right, so if I had to give this edition a fuzz score, I'd probably give it about a 7.5. Because of course they could have included more for special features. They could have included, a book or a poster or some other knickknacks in here. It's a pretty minimal, streamlined box set, right? There's not a whole lot to it, but what you do get is really cool. The steelbooks are cool, and the movies look fantastic on 4K. So I figure about a 7.5. That sounds about right for me for a fuzz score. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to activate that notification bell as well so you can be alerted when I'm posting videos that you might dig. Also, don't forget to like the video as well. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and the channel's visibility out there. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All right, next up, let's talk about The Conversation and this awesome 50th anniversary collector's edition. 1974 film directed by Francis Ford Coppola and starring Gene Hackman, of course, the late, great Gene Hackman. Rest in peace. I got this because Gene had just passed away, right? And I wanted to do something a little extra special to, kind of pay tribute to Gene, to kind of pay my respects to Gene and kind of reflect on his just amazing career. And so I just had to do this. I had to splurge. I had to pull the trigger on this one. And I'm glad I did, because this is a killer release. First off, it's super thick. This box is, to give you an idea here, if I put up the Den of Thieves box set right next to it, look how thick that is. And this Den of Thieves box set has 2 steelbooks in it, right? And The Conversation is even thicker than that. So yeah, this is a stacked release here. So let me show you what's in here. First of all, the whole lid just kind of lifts off like this, if I can get it off without, let's see here. Trying to, it's harder to do when I'm actually showing you this on camera. All right, got my lid off, right? And there's a couple posters to begin with. I don't know if I want to, do you want me to open up these posters? I think I will. I don't usually do that, but in this case, I think I will. You get this one. It's not a really big poster, but it's cool looking with the new art and him on the saxophone there. And then you've got the classic art poster right there. So pretty cool. I'm not a big poster guy, but, I appreciate that they're in there, If given the choice between having them or not having them, I'd rather have them in case I ever want to hang one of them somewhere. And then you also get a really cool book. And normally I don't get that excited about the book, but this one actually looks pretty cool. It's not particularly, it's not like a long book. It's fairly thin, but it's on nice paper and it's got some cool photos and essays in here, which I'm looking forward to checking out. There's our table of contents, and you just kind of get the idea there. It's hard for me to show these books on camera. I'm not a pro at this, but lots of images, lots of essays on this, talking about the film. And I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I think I probably will in this case, probably pretty soon. There's conspiracy theories there, so I won't get into all that, but you get the idea. Cool little book. But then we have the Steelbook, which is just sitting in there like that. And let me get it out here. Again, a plastic slipcover steelbook, color printed. There's the front there, which I think looks really cool. I think this is an awesome looking steelbook. And then, of course, printed on the back. But let's take out the color printing here. The little meter kind of comes up there and reveals Gene doing his thing with the saxophone there. Very cool looking steelbook. The back is pretty straightforward, but yeah, I think it looks cool. I love these plastic printed slipcovers. They are so cool. And you know, Lionsgate, they know how to deliver on steelbooks. They really do. All right, but that's still not all. The one other cool thing that you get in here is a cassette tape. Look at that. Now, I haven't owned a cassette tape in many years. You know, I used to be a cassette guy back in the 80s, but haven't owned one in many years. So they actually include a cassette tape. I can't even remember the last time I played a cassette tape. But yeah, you get the soundtrack for the movie. Cool little cassette tape, sealed. And, you know, I don't know if I'll ever even play it. But in fact, yeah, I actually do have a cassette player somewhere that could be used, but I don't think I'll ever play it. But it's cool that they provided it. It's a cool little knick-knack, right? A cool little collectible thing. And you just got to love that kind of stuff. And it's also worth noting this set includes not just the 4K disc, but also a Blu-ray disc and a digital code. Lionsgate is usually pretty good about providing digital codes for all the stuff they release. So I appreciate that. I don't watch streaming or use the codes very often, but I like having them in case I go on vacation or whatnot. It's nice to have like a digital code or a digital version that I can access when I'm away from my collection and it's not convenient for me to, you know, pop in a disc or whatever. But most of the time I'm watching discs, so I don't really use the digital codes, but I appreciate that they include them. Now, I thought this looked really good on 4K, but I'll be the first to admit I had not seen this film in many years. In fact, I think I'd only ever seen this film once, and it was about probably like 35 years ago, maybe even a bit longer. I think it's probably around 35 years ago, and I barely even remembered the film, to be honest. I know I've seen this film before or had seen it before watching this version, but it had just been so long I didn't really remember it very well. So in many ways, it almost felt like I was watching this for the first time. So likewise, I've never owned this one before. I can't really compare to previous Blu-ray releases because it had been so long since I had seen the film. So it's hard for me to like diagnose how much of an uptick over previous editions this is. But I thought it looked good. You know, it's a 1974 film, you know, shot on film. So I usually appreciate 4K restorations of older movies shot on film. And, you know, I thought it looked decent. I don't have anything to compare it to know like how much of an improvement it is. But I have to assume this is probably the best the film has ever looked. And I certainly didn't have any complaints with the 4K. There was all kinds of great detail and, you know, had that nice warmth to it. The image had this nice warmth to it and the depth and richness that you usually expect to see with 4K and the HDR. So yeah, I thought this looked great, but it's hard for me to really give you an accurate assessment of this compared to other physical media editions because it's just been so long since I've seen this and I'd never owned it before. And that was also part of why I splurged on this edition. I was like, you know what? I don't even have this in my collection. So if I'm going to do this, I should do it right. If I'm going to splurge on Gene Hackman and pay my respects to Gene, I'm going to do it the right way. And that's exactly what I did with this release. But I'll warn you guys, it's a pretty pricey release. This is like $79.99 on Lionsgate Limited. So I'll be the first to admit it's not cheap. But for me personally, and given my love of Gene Hackman, he's one of my all-time favorite actors, certainly like a top 10 all-time favorite actor. So yeah, I just had to do it. I'm glad I did. It turned out to be a great release. I had a blast watching this film after not having seen it for so long. But either way, it seems like a solid 4K restoration as best as I can tell. And I just had a hell of a lot of fun watching this the other night when I first got it. So yeah, great stuff. And I guess if I had to give this one a fuzz score, I would probably give this probably like an 8.5. somewhere, yeah, 8.5 I think sounds about right. And the main reason I'm not rating it a little bit higher is, oh, I didn't talk about the special features. There are quite a few special features in this, but it's mostly just interviews and stuff. I didn't really see anything there that really jumped out at me as something I needed to watch right away. In other words, I didn't see any kind of like making of or retrospective documentary. And, you know, I'm a big fan of the feature length documentary. So it doesn't seem like there's anything like that on here, but there are quite a few interviews and commentaries and that kind of thing. So, but back to my fuzz score. If I were to give this a fuzz score, 8.5 out of 10, because this is just a gorgeous release, gorgeous packaging. I love all the stuff they include here, and the 4K restoration is solid. I probably would have marked it up a little bit higher if there had been like a feature-length retrospective of the film or a feature-length documentary of some kind. Yeah, it's a solid release, and this just came out in December, so it's only been out for a few months, and you can still get it. Like with the Den of Thieves collection, I will include a link in the description to this product page so you can order this one if it sounds like something you'd like to acquire. So yeah, I guess that's about all I can really say about this. The 50th anniversary collector's edition 4K steelbook of The Conversation. It's one I would definitely highly recommend if you are a fan of Gene Hackman, if you are a fan of this film. Again, it's a little pricey, so, you know, your comfort level on picking up something like this may vary. Your own mileage may vary on that, but I'm really glad that I kind of splurged a little bit and added this to my collection because, you know, I think Gene deserves it, right? Gene deserves it. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. If you're a big fan of the film, big fan of Gene Hackman, this is a great one to have in your collection and just a beautiful, just gorgeous edition. So love it. The Conversation. All right, so that about wraps it up for my assessment of the Den of Thieves collection on 4K and The Conversation on 4K from Lionsgate Limited. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I always love hearing from you guys, so I definitely appreciate the feedback. Have you guys ordered anything from Lionsgate Limited yourselves yet? And if so, what'd you order? And what do you think of these releases? Do either of these editions look like something you would be interested in? Again, I always love hearing your feedback and interacting with you guys and chatting with you guys in the comments below. So make sure you leave me some feedback. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.